I'm Angel and this is Enotria, the last song, or Italian Souls, as I imagine a lot of people are starting to call it. So this is another Souls-like, but this one is based on Italian folklore, and I am all for it because Souls-likes based on folklores are probably one of my favorite subgenres of the Souls series. Sadly, being inspired by Italian folklore, this game will end up being compared to Lies of P a lot. And as you know, Lies of P is based on Pinocchio, which is an Italian fairy tale. And Lies of P is my favorite Souls-like of all time. So sadly, I'm going into this demo biased. So I played the whole demo and I love the idea behind the game. The art direction was great, vibrant, very colorful, which is something I've been looking for in a Souls-like for a while now. I'm a bit oversaturated with all the grim dark stuff, and sure, after the primary area of Enotria demo, you go into a dark forest, but the dark forest was well lit and it has a lot of nice colors. So I also adore the idea of loadouts. In Enotria, you have loadouts. You can prepare different builds for your character and cycle through them. Honestly, it's about time a Souls-like had loadouts. I think this is a very, very innovative idea. So you can like just have different builds for different situations, and you don't have to spend time in the menu setting up new shit. You just have your loadouts, you cycle through them whenever you need them. Fuck yes. More games, more Souls-likes should have shit like this. I love it. And the boss music. Holy shit. That, to me, that was the highlight of the demo. The boss music was fucking amazing. Really, really fucking good. So similar to Lies of P, the combat relies more on parrying over dodging. And you're also playing basically a puppet. So I found it a bit weird. I know that the people that made Lies of P are not Italian, as far as I'm aware. But the people making Enotria, the last song, are Italian. Just, you know, like I kind of feel, I do feel bad for them because this game has a lot of personality. Even though you can like sort of, you squint and you kind of see the whole Lies of P influence behind it. I don't know if they were influenced by Lies of P, but you can kind of see it. And I feel so bad for them because their game will be compared to Lies of P. Because it's very adjacent to it. Because it's really, I feel like it's really trying to do its own thing. So I do like a lot of the ideas they have here. But sadly, when you have a Souls-like game where you're playing a puppet, the setting is heavily influenced on Italian culture. There's a lot of Italian words and nomenclatures, and the game relies more on parrying over dodging, just like Lies of P. Because in Lies of P you could dodge, but like you get more rewarded if you parry, and this game is the same. You know, because like you can stance break your enemies if you parry them enough. So it's yeah. However, at least in the demo, to me, nearly unplayable. I finished it completely, but the camera doesn't really follow you around when you turn, so I found myself outrunning the camera at times. There's like a half-second delay when you press the attack, dodge, or parry buttons. And then dodging and parrying and attacking is fucking slow, even with fast weapons. It feels super slow. Then if you use an ultra great sword, holy shit, it takes like 2 seconds to get an attack. And I'm not asking, obviously, for ultra great swords to attack fast. That'd be stupid. But having to wait too much for an attack to go off, dude, no. Moving itself feels slow, and so does sprinting. The difference between sprinting and regular moving is barely noticeable. to me that was weird as fuck. So the whole game feels very, very sluggish and very non-responsive. Because again, most of the combat loop, they expect you to do a lot of parrying, but you usually have to parry about a second, half a second before you think you would have to parry, because the animation takes a while for it to actually activate the parry animation. You know, you have to move the arm, and it doesn't feel fluid. It's the same way as consuming items. Like, the character reaching into his pocket and taking out the item takes too many frames. The same way as using your Estus flask, or like what the game's equivalent of the Estus flask is. It takes a while for him to actually take it out of his pocket and then put it on his forehead and crush it, or whatever it is he has to do. It's weird. It's weird. All in all, the game feels very unresponsive, and obviously, addendum, this just might be the demo, and I hope it's just the demo. But damn, first impressions are important, and this first impression is bad. So fucking bad. I could barely get up when knocked down. It would take a while to get up from being knocked down, because and then being knocked down would cause a quick death when enemies just kept attacking you while you were down. And it seemed to me, if you were being attacked while you were knocked down, it would take you even longer to stand up. At least that's how it felt. It's fucking stupid, because you think people would learn by now that rolling from the ground should always be a standard move in a 3D Souls-like. If you get knocked down, just let people press the dodge button so they can roll from the floor and stand up. That's just like a given you should be given, right? In Lies of P, you had to unlock the ability, but then they retracted that and just made it a standard ability. Because, you know, it's just being able to roll from prone. Everybody knows it's just a general Souls-like combat. It's part of the combat loop. You're gonna get knocked down when you get hit, but you want to get up fast. So obviously, you want to be able to roll from the floor. It's part of the combat loop and the gameplay loop and the combat loop. I don't understand how people in the year 2024, after what, 15 years of Soulslikes at this point, something like that, you think people would know better? So as much like the morons that made Lords of the Fallen, these people seem to learn mostly from Dark Souls 2, but made it worse, just like the idiots from Lords of the Fallen. I'll remind you, I really love Dark Souls 2, but obviously it has a bunch of issues. But it seems like a lot of these developers, they take ideas from Dark Souls 2 and they take the worst parts. Guys, if your Souls-like has high enemy density, then the enemies should die in 1 or 2 hits. So that way you don't get overwhelmed. It's fine to have a lot of enemies, but 1-2 hits, they're done. And you keep going, and you can like clean a whole area of enemies. That's fine. Or if you have very low enemy density, then you can have enemies with high health. And that's also fine. You take your time, you're meticulous, you're slow, and you take enemies one by one, right? But here you have enemies that don't flinch when you attack them. They don't flinch. They take 7 to 10 hits to bring down, and then you have to face 3 to 5 at the same time. And we're not talking about elites, this is just regular enemies. They attack through your attacks because they don't flinch. Because if you have a bunch of enemies and you're attacking one, ideally that one you're attacking, he's flinching. So you're just, you know, willing them down until they die while you're taking care of not being hit by the other enemy. So you're looking around while you're attacking one enemy, making sure the other enemies don't hit you. But that one enemy you're attacking is not getting in between your attacks. But here, you have to take care of not getting hit by the enemies around you, plus the enemy that you're fighting, because they're not getting flinched. Because to me, it's frustrating, because like this is the Dark Souls, the 3D Dark Souls gameplay loop. If you have enemies, you have ways to deal with them. You know, you flinch one while you keep the others at bay, then you go from one to the other one. But here, like, you could die 8 minutes into exploring because you took time to take down every single enemy, which is usually how I play these games. I love clearing out entire areas because that way I have more time to explore. Just I clear the area of enemies, then I take my time to explore, take in the sights. I don't have to be weary about any enemies that might appear because I already killed them all. But here, then, after spending the 8 minutes, you get killed by bullshit enemy placement or a bunch of really strong enemies piled together. So what the fuck am I gonna do then? Take my time again to kill all those enemies again, taking 8 to 10 minutes again? Or just fuck that. Similar to Lords of the Fallen, I spend a lot of time running around enemies to avoid them because the combat didn't feel fun. Because there were 5 enemies on me. All of them could interrupt my attacks. I couldn't interrupt any of their attacks. And they all took way too long to kill. So there were too many enemies and their HP was way too bloated. And like I said, you have no poise. You get flinched from your attacks all the fucking time. I'm used to doing a jump attack, getting attacked by a small attack, and just going ahead with my jump attack. Not in this game. Even a small attack would knock you out of the air. So where's my hyper armor? Moving to the bosses, the demo had 2 bosses. They looked fine. I like their design, even though they were a bit simple. Their attacks were super telegraphed, and you would imagine that a Souls game where the bosses' attacks are super telegraphed would be easy. But funny enough, because of the unresponsive character and controls, they were not easy to avoid. You're a skinny looking puppet, dude. Combat should be fast paced, not this slog. It's funny because I feel like in any other game, those bosses would have been very crappy. Because again, like their AI is very, very simple. Very, very simple. But because the controls are so unresponsive and it takes about half a second for you to roll, or almost 2/3 of a second for your parry animation to activate, the bosses were challenging. But that's why they were challenging. That to me is false difficulty, man. Oh, another thing that to me it was fucking hilarious. Some enemies had projectiles, magical projectiles that would shoot at you. Balls of wine, basically. That's what they were, because they could get you drunk. And that's one of again, like, this game has a lot of personality. There's a lot to love here. But then, like, these orbs would follow you around, and you're used to that, so you just dodge around them, and that's it. No, but these things, I turned the corner, the fucking orb turned the corner behind me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I rolled behind it, and the fucking thing U-turned to hit me. That's not usually how projectiles work in Soulslikes. You know, I was fighting a boss that would have orbs that he would shoot at me, the final boss of the demo, and he would shoot the orbs. I would dodge past the orbs that were above me, and the boss was, you know, walking backwards, and I was walking towards the boss, so the orbs were behind me, but the orbs in the air above me just shot down and behind them to hit me. And I'm like, what the fuck is with this tracking? That's, you know, like, at that point, that's just not fair, right? But again, like, the boss itself was not really hard. It's just that the button prompts, the buttons were very unresponsive, so it made things more challenging than they should have been. Another issue I had is that the camera was weird. I actually got motion sick, and that was me turning off motion blur, because the motion blur here was fucking atrocious. And even then, there was something about the jerkiness of the camera that just, it made me uncomfortable as I was playing, and I actually had to put the game down for a while. This is not something that I had ever had an experience with any other Souls-like. It's the first thing that happened to me. I told to myself, like, this game is actually making me a bit nauseous and a bit sick. Then another issue is the camera is way too zoomed in on the character, sometimes making it difficult to see what's in front of you. So your depth perception goes to shit because of that. When you lock onto an enemy, the camera actually lowers itself, and I think it actually locked. So even though you were locked onto an enemy, you couldn't really move the camera around, or at least, you know, go up and down on the axis, so you could like raise the camera up. I don't think I could, because I believe that's one of my biggest gripes with the game, because again, your depth perception goes to shit. You can't really see what's in front of you, so you can't really gauge the distance of the enemy's attacks or yours. I had many enemies hit me when I thought I was far enough away, and I whiffed a lot of my attacks when I thought I was close enough. But it was because of the camera, the positioning of the camera. Really, really fucking bad. The camera should always be at somewhat of an angle further away, so you can actually tell how far away an enemy is and how far away their attacks are. Yeah, so all in all, I found the demo to be hard, but for the worst possible reason. It's not designed properly, and it's not well optimized, so it's truly false difficulty. And look, I have high hopes for this game because it looks gorgeous, and it has a lot of nice ideas, and it has a load of personality. But, you know, reduce enemy HP for regular enemies, give us more hyper armor or poise, make combat more responsive, and fix the fucking camera issues. They do this, and the developers might have a home run in their hands. I think, again, I want this game to succeed. I really do, because I really like the idea behind it. I think this game could be extremely fucking fun. There was so many really nice attention to detail when you're running around, and again, the idea that one of the status effects is that you get drunk, and it makes you take more damage, but your stamina goes up faster because you're drunk. That, again, there's so much personality here. There's so much just potential. And that's one of the things that hurts me the most. And again, this is just the demo. So I hope all these shortcomings are just with the demo build of the game, and that the official release fixes all of this. The game comes out in September 19. That's about 2 months from now. And from what I've gathered, the developers have taken in feedback from a lot of people. And from what I read online, a lot of the gripes people are having are very similar to the gripes I'm having. So hopefully we'll see all of these things fixed. So come September, we might be in store for possibly another one of the greatest Soulslikes ever. Something that might even rival Lies of P. Not to me, because Lies of P, one of the main reasons I liked it was because of the story and the NPCs. I don't know how they're going to handle the story here. I don't know how they're going to handle the NPCs. But at the very least, if they fix the combat loop and the gameplay loop and how responsive it is, yeah, this might not even be a diamond in the rough. This might actually end up being a genuinely amazing Souls-like. And that's what I'm hoping for. I truly am. If it's not, then, you know, it'll be just another crap Souls-like like Lords of the Fallen 1 and Lords of the Fallen 2. Which would be a shame. Because again, the idea of loadouts, fucking awesome. Something other games should really do. And I hope this game actually includes New Game Plus 0, because that would be really fucking cool as well. Make fucking weapons faster. That's it for me. Here it is, your moment of zen.
Figli mia cutterare, mamma mia, pensaccia tu. Se te non capisci o lo ite va, che te viene sempre baccalare dal manrene. Se ci picchia fantasia, baccalare, figli mia.